to do is I'd like Buddy Thornton to stand up, and you know, Buddy and I, we met through this little technology called LinkedIn. And so a lot of my outbound marketing I use through the LinkedIn channel, and quite frankly, a lot of the business I do is through LinkedIn. I found it to be the place where I can meet a lot of people. But I don't keep my people in LinkedIn. I don't keep them in a digital world. It's my goal to get them on a phone and get them to appointments so I can meet them in person. Because when you get to meet people in person, most normally something special happens and we can develop a relationship. Who does not want to develop a relationship in here? Thank God, no one raised their hand. We have a smart audience. Now, with that said, little did I know that Buddy Thornton would become such a great friend. Little did I know Buddy Thornton was a corpsman in the military. Little did he know that I served in the United States Marine Corps from '83 to '89. Yes, I'm dating myself. Yes, I'm only 22. I started negatively to go forward. You know, little did I know that this gentleman would be one of my most trusted advisors. But see, what did I do? I sought to reach out to someone that I didn't know. And I didn't reach out to him to do business. I reached out to him to create a connection. Because in this community, relationships create community, and commerce follows. Absolutely. And one of the things that we've done with Buddy is we're creating a lot of awareness, attention, exposure to this brand, and commerce is following, is it not?
Absolutely.
And what I love about Buddy, in our book number 5, and I brought 2 books here today, is he is our editor of book number 5, 365 Days. So with no further ado, I would like to bring your attention to Mr. Buddy Thornton, our facilitator for today's panel. Everyone, I give you Buddy Thornton.
I'm going to be the inaugural person to bring iNetrepreneur Academy back to the forefront. That was quite an honor. But for those of you who don't know a lot about me, let's talk about the panel, and then we'll go to the thing. I got Kathleen Carlson. Hello. Yeah. The marketing chat. I got Kim Bailey. Mr. Mario. I got Angel Marie. The Energy Queen. And I got Bill McCartney, Mr. Real Estate. All right. Today, we are just piggybacking. This is our mask for all of our training when we go to anywhere. And anyone who's going to be on a panel, we just swap them out. But it's very important that you realize this is a brand. iNetConnect, iNetrepreneur, iNetrepreneur Academy. We are a brand. Our history. I was a professional bowler for 27 years. A little note you might not know is my son is still a professional bowler. So, in 2014, I fell and broke my arm. And if you take a look at that picture, I broke it in 6 places and had surgery. That's what it looks like the day of surgery. They didn't fix it. I walked around for 4 years, including a trip to Vietnam and other places with a broken arm. So in 2018, that's what it looks like. So every day I walk around with 13 screws and 3 brackets in my right arm. That ended my bowling for sure. This is my wife. In the center is Dr. Dale Bagshaw, who unfortunately passed away from COVID in 2021. And myself, and that's in Da Nang, Vietnam in 2017. Here's my wife with a couple of street vendors. You know, let's talk about perspective. She's only 5'6". How tall do you think those 2 people are?
And they have hats on.
And they've got hats on. Vietnam was a trip, but it wasn't my first experience with Vietnam because my wife was a USO volunteer and I was a Navy Corpsman during Vietnam. This is a picture of my dad, my oldest daughter, my wife, one of my granddaughters, and a couple of her children. 5 generations in that picture. Unfortunately, a year and a half ago, my father passed away. This is another one of my granddaughters. Thank God God, they don't look like me. Thank God they much my wife. And last night, last but not least, my books were on the Jumbotron in Times Square in New York City. Guys, this is why we do what we do.
Nice.
And we wouldn't be iNet if we didn't talk about the Art of Connection. The Art of Connection is a fantastic series. It is your marketing window to the world. People who buy it on a Kindle can use it as a digital Rolodex. All they have to do is put a search in if they need an editor, and oh, I might pop up. So now we're going to start with some of the fantastic stuff we're talking about today. Right, wrong, and almost right. Right, wrong, and almost right is the dynamic you use when you're creating relationships. It's the dynamic you use when you're controlling your company. It's the dynamic you use when you're training employees. If you're going to do business with somebody, Craig, would you do business with someone who said, yeah, I think I want to do business with you? Kind of hard to do that, isn't it?
Right. Now you're gonna ask me to close.
It creates a wall of ambivalence between you and them. I mean, come on. Saying no without saying no. Yes, and not a no is because no puts up a psychological barrier, and your subconscious mind controls 90% of your behavior. Breaking down resilience. Yes, in an entrepreneurial sense, if you don't have the answer, it is way better to say, if you will give me your contact information, I will get the answer and get back with you. And then what's the most important follow-up on that?
To actually follow up and do it.
Action. Action. Words mean nothing. Action means everything. As Kathleen pointed out to us, that's a qualified yes. What's the difference between a qualified yes and a qualified no, and just an ordinary yes or no? If you want to give a qualified yes, the best way to give a qualified yes is to say yes and fill in the blank. Doesn't matter how you fill in the blank. Statistically, between 7 and 15% of communication is verbal, and 85 to 93% is nonverbal. How important is it to hear no, but see, yeah, I'm just looking for a reason, yeah. So if you don't engage, if you don't actively listen and you don't pay attention to who you're talking to, you're going to miss the nonverbals, and you're going to miss so much of the communication. Just because you hear the word no doesn't mean it isn't no. Exactly like you said. It's like, give me a reason to say something else. So, those are the only possible answers to any request, to an employee, to a friend, to a customer. How important is yes versus no and maybe?
Well, yes and no is everything. And maybe for me means a waste of my time.
There you go. No shuts it down, right? That's fine, it doesn't waste your time. Almost, but not quite. Maybe doesn't even meet that criteria. And the reason is because maybe is telling you, I haven't done anything to sell you. I can't say no. I might like it, but you're going to have to go a lot deeper. It's harder to convert a maybe than a no, in most cases. How many of us have been here? We're all entrepreneurs, aren't we? Resilience is the sustainable response to stress over time. Research shows that stress is the only motivator. If everything is going well, are you going to change anything, Craig? Julie,
Yes.
when you get someone who comes to you and they just absolutely get in your face and they're like, I don't like the way this turned out. I want you to do it again. Does that create stress in your brain?
Yeah.
And so, if you had that repeatedly over and over and over again, would that wear you down over time?
It could.
So resilience is the sustainable response to stress over time, because without resilience, none of us could succeed long term. It wouldn't be sustainable. And without, pardon me, without the word sustainable in that, when you just say resilience is the response to stress over time, why is it a good response? Because it's sustainable. So you need to build resilience. Do not ever think perfect. Perfect creates stagnation. If you're striving for perfect, you're never gonna get there. It took me 2 years to write my first book because I was looking for perfection. When my committee chair at GCU said, stop that, I wrote my second book, which was 30% longer in 30 days. Don't look for perfection. So if you measure sustained utility, you're going to get where you're getting without perfection. You don't need perfection, okay? We'll attack that in a different way. But measure good enough against the ROI. If you set a goal and you haven't gotten there yet, don't change the goal, change the methodology, change the plan. The goal can stay there, it doesn't matter. It's awesome.
Shadow makes you look like a chump.
I think Kim described it pretty well. Do not stress perfection when good enough is enough. We didn't introduce before we started, so sorry I don't have your name, but could you tell us why stressing perfection hurts your entrepreneurial journey?
Because I think you just set yourself up for failure. You're going to continue to stress yourself wanting to always achieve something that might not be attainable.
Can I say something about perfection?
Sure. We're going to jump in here.
Pretty much.
Is it possible that good enough is perfect? Go ahead.
From a psychologist standpoint, you all are perfect. It's just you're perfect the way you are today, because if you're supposed to be different, you wouldn't be.
Who's the only person you compete with?
Me.
Me.
And why is that the only path forward?
Because I can only be better than myself. That's
Comparison?
Yeah, you can only compare to yourself, but you can't compare to someone else.
Comparison is the root of almost all conflict. What is my job as a conflict professional? Reduce conflict. So if I can teach you to compete against yourself, your past analytics, your story, where you are compared to your goal, if I can teach you to focus on you, you're going to get better. But if I ask you to compare yourself to Robert, and you start getting into a competition, someone has to lose. Is a win-lose a good situation?
No.
No, of course not.
You know, Buddy, has anyone heard of Matthew McConaughey in here?
Yeah.
One of the best advices that I've ever heard was from him. And it goes along with what you said. And he says, what we need to do is compare ourselves on who we want to be in the future and get there.
Yeah, one of the markers I do with clients is I tell them, I want you to talk to yourself 20 years from now. I want you to tell yourself how you got there. Some people say, talk to your younger self. I'm like, why would you want to do that? We do have to clear the past, but the past is an anchor. It's not an engine.
Clear that energy, yes.
Yes, clear that energy. I'm going to kind of fly through this a little bit because this is really, we see this all the time. Networking, socio-linguistic concepts are present. This is the only big word I'll use in the presentation. When party A gets loud or obnoxious, party B shuts down or leaves. My son is a classical example of that. When somebody gets abrasive or he just leaves the room. Rather than have conflict, he just goes. The best way to bring people in is to use your mirror neurons, mirror their behavior, bring them to you. If you follow the rules of yes, no, and maybe, honor the no and the maybe, but put it on the shelf, chase the yeses, you'll get party B to mimic you, and all that conflict and dissonance will go down, okay? When you say which is preferred, perfect or good enough, I can unequivocally say, I cannot find one place in my life where perfect benefited me other than when I threw a 300 game on tour. No one beats a 300. But that's a rare example. So when you
Expectation, that's what's
yeah. So when you work for somebody, they give you a SOP book and all this other stuff, all these rules to follow and everything. Mm-hmm. A demand or expectation is what's published.
Okay.
This is what's practiced. Does anyone ever meet the standard, Jerry? Does anyone ever meet the standard?
No,
And why not?
because everyone's human. So human behavior kicks in, and they're going to fail in some small way, right? And the thing to remember, I always try to remember is, no one really is who they claim they are. And the longer you're around them, the more you see that. So, hey, I heard someone say, I watch what people do. I heard someone say that, and that's exactly
There you go. So here's the way that works. Can you set a standard too high? Anybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
But if you set a standard that's achievable, following the SMART method, it has to also be achievable, but it has to be measurable, right? With my people, I gave them 2 rules. I know I've told a few people in this room that, but my 2 rules were, show up, no complaints. So if a customer complains, they may have showed up, but did they do their job? If you hire them to do their job and you train them the right way, do you need more rules than what I just gave? No, of course not. They know their job. Let them do their job. Don't micromanage. Should a standard be perfect or good enough? I think Jerry said it. I think Julian, yes, go ahead.
Well, I think what I say, I'm as is. Just like a dress in a store. It's perfect when it goes on the shelf. Everybody is as is once it's been worn and used. And that it's all good, it's all good. But
Do they use a size 20 model in a catalog? Rarely.
Rarely.
Are all the dresses made for the perfect people? And I'm not making any judgments here.
Their standard of perfection is what is being
There you go.
presented. But everyone is as is, so perfection doesn't cut it.
You order your size, you take your chances. That's kind of the way that works. Yes, Lee?
I've got this whole thing reminds me of the movie Remember the Titans. Okay, the end of the movie comes up. They haven't lost a game all season long. Okay, so at this point the team is perfect. Okay, is each individual player perfect? No, but the team is perfect. Okay, and the one comment the one player makes to the coach at the end of the game is, "Hey, coach, you know, we are perfect as a team, but individually we're not. And I'd rather walk off this field perfect tonight when this game is over." And so, can we as a team, as a group, or as individual groups, can we be perfect? You can be perfect in one way or another. You may set a goal, you may reach a perfect goal somehow. Is there bumps and hiccups along the way where you weren't perfect or whatever? But sure. But I think we can still have ways that, maybe as a team or a group or an organization, there's some things we can be perfect in. And
Perfection is not scalar. Perfection is unachievable. But there is absolutely no reason why we can't put in 100% effort. Every time, every day, win or lose, succeed or fail. And when should you actually put in the extra effort? When you fail. Because that's always on you. There's no justification for saying it's on anybody else. This is my contact information if anybody wants me. Fighters for Hope is our new nonprofit helping mental health awareness and suicide prevention. Robert and iNet are going to be one of our sponsors among many others. And anyone here who wants to talk to me about being a sponsor and jumping into the team is mighty welcome. And Robert, I'll return it up to you.
All right, everyone give the panel and Buddy Thornton. And when we do something like this, I always like to leave a little bit of time just for some takeaways and commentary by everyone that's been here. I've always found that each one of us is measuring what we're learning maybe differently, and the way that you process it and state it afterwards may also, create a light in our own mind. Would anyone like to comment on the panel today? Any takeaways, any feedback, any epiphanies? Don't be.
We were perfect?
Craig?
So, no epiphany, but that was a great presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
One of the things that I gathered during the panel was somebody made a mention of dreaming of making $1 million a year. Okay, my personal pet peeve with the world is that we're training people to dream about piles of money instead of building things. If you have a dream to build something, the money will come. All right?
Just so you understand, when I do any type of a show or a presentation, there's always an underlying goal. Can anyone even want to give a guess as to what the goal was for this? Setting expectations is always detrimental to yourself. And if you set expectations for other people, you're guaranteeing yourself that you are going to cause them to fail in your mind. They may believe they met your expectations, but no one ever sets an expectation that actually matches what you're looking for. Give a standard, give a goal, give a point of reference and say, get here, we'll meet there. It's sort of like that field of dreams.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
My name is Buddy Thornton. I own BCT Mediations Plus and Life and Legacy Academy, and I'm the founder of Fighters for Hope. And my superpower is I'm a community builder, according to our very, very good friend Jeffrey Morris. And my goal is to make everyone feel welcome.
Good job.